Today I want to discuss sort of something a little different that I do for my estate planning clients who have minor children. But before I explain what it is that I do, I want to just tell you a little quick story, a true life story that happened to my husband and I. So I'm originally from New York. When I moved down in 2013, 99% of my family was still in New York, and the only person I had here in Florida was my cousin, who lived about 8 miles away from me, about 15 minutes away from where I lived. We knew absolutely no one. After a while, I got to know my neighbors, and at the time my son was about 7 or 8 years old. I asked the neighbor's daughter, who was a 16-year-old teenager, to come over and babysit because my husband and I just needed a date night and needed to get away for the night. So she babysat for us. Everything went well. I gave her my cell phone number, my husband's cell phone number, and I took it a step further and said, I'm going to be at, so-and-so restaurant. If any emergency comes out, you can call the restaurant or call my cell phone or my husband's cell phone. Went on our date. On the way back home from our date, we're in Florida, so you have a lot of crazy drivers. Someone cut us off, swerving, as a mom, we've all sort of, I think, been there if we've ever been in a car, especially in Florida, where you're just like, oh my God, I just saw my life flash before my eyes, and my heart was pounding out of my chest because we were almost killed by this idiot driving on the highway. And after, I sort of caught my breath, the very next thing was Ethan. Oh my God, Ethan, what would have happened to Ethan if we didn't make it home tonight? Yeah, I have a will. Of course I have a will. I'm an estate planning attorney. Yeah, I appoint my sister as guardian. My sister's in New York. How long is it going to be before that 16-year-old babysitter realizes that I'm not coming home tonight? What's going to happen if I don't come home tonight? After a while, the 16-year-old is going to probably say, okay, it's 11 o'clock. Mom, they're still not home. What should I do? Mom is going to say, I don't know, call. Did you try calling their cell phone? She's going to call my cell phone. I'm not answering because I'm dead in a ditch somewhere. My husband's dead with me, so, he's not answering his phone either. So logic would say that her mother is going to probably say, call 911, call the sheriff and see, let them know what's going on. The cops will come to my house, they'll open the door, and my 8-year-old son will immediately know something is wrong. Because at this point, it's late, my mom and dad are not home, and now there are cops at my door. So he will probably have a complete mental breakdown, probably be taken into custody, DCF will be called, maybe he'll go into a foster care, maybe if I have one of those really nice sheriffs that we see on the news that decides to take my son home with him because he feels so bad that this kid is like with an orphan now. And all of these things just started flashing through my mind. And I said, I'm really doing a really injustice to all of my clients who have minor children, especially here in the state of Florida, where so many of us are transplants from other states, and we really don't have a lot of immediate family here. Had that babysitter known that my cousin was literally 8 miles up the road, 15 minutes away, I never told her, so there's no way she would have known about that. Now, I love my cousin to death, but I don't want to name him guardian. But as temporary guardian, of course, Ethan loves Uncle Julio, but Uncle Julio is not, he's amazing uncle, but he's an uncle. I don't want, him to take my son to a strip bar at the age of 18. No offense, Julio, I love you. But, Cindy, my sister, is the person who I want to name as guardian, as permanent guardian, because she's going to raise my child with the same morals, the same ethics, the same culture that I have, the same religion that I have. So I want her to be my permanent guardian. But I sure as hell wouldn't mind Julio coming over and being my son's temporary guardian to ensure that my son never sees a foster care, doesn't have to deal with DCF, doesn't have to ever have that moment of instability. So what I do for my clients with minor children is we develop this protection plan for children. It's a comprehensive protection plan. There are some attorneys who have adopted this idea, but not all estate planning attorneys do it. So it's really important that if you do have minor children, that you have an attorney or you consult with an attorney who implements these protection plans. And the protection plan consists of appointing permanent guardians, obviously. That's the person who's going to raise your children the way you would raise them had you still been here to finish the job. So it's really important that you appoint someone not necessarily based on their financial standings and, oh, I'm going to appoint my cousin so-and-so because he's a doctor and he can afford the children. If money is an issue, there's life insurance, there's savings, there's different things that we can utilize to make sure that the children are in a good place. What I want you to focus on when you appoint a permanent guardian for your children is who's going to raise them the way I would have raised them, who's going to have the same, religious beliefs if religion is big to you, culture, who's going to celebrate the same holidays, who's going to take them on the vacations that you want to take them. So that's going to be your permanent guardian. The temporary guardian is going to be someone who's within 5 to 10 minutes away from you, who your children know, like, and perhaps even trust, who will be there immediately to take care of your children to ensure they never step foot inside that foster care. This person doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. It can be a neighbor. It can be just as long as it's someone who's trustworthy, and someone who your children know. That way they can be there until the permanent guardian arrives, whether they're out of state or further away. Sometimes, in some cases, the permanent guardian is the same as the temporary guardian, but if you're not, sort of lucky enough to have your relatives next door, you should appoint temporary guardians. We're also going to designate powers of attorney. We're going to do a power of attorney for your minor children, as well as the designation of healthcare surrogate for your minor children. Well, Ruby, why do they need that? So the power of attorney for minor children allows someone to perhaps enroll them in school, pick them up from school, anything to do with sort of, I don't want to say finances because they don't have finances per se, but anything, I guess, administrative, they'll be able to do that for. The designation of healthcare surrogate for minors will allow someone to make medical decisions for your children. And the reason we want to have these documents is because bottom line is we often travel with our children. So we could be in a situation where we are in a mutual car accident, mom and dad are incapacitated, in a coma, out of it, the children are still there, and so we can't appoint a guardian. The guardian can't make these things because you're still alive. You just can't do them yourself because you're in the hospital bed. So we want to have someone there to fulfill that need, but not give them sort of the guardianship. You're not handing over guardianship to your children, but you still want them to be able to take your children to the doctor if they need to see the doctor. If you need them to be enrolled in school or taken out of school, you need to have someone there to sort of fulfill those needs. We also include emergency ID cards for all of our clients. And it's an ID card that you keep in your wallet. It's laminated. It says, if I'm incapacitated, unable to communicate, I have minor children at home, please call these people. So we will, obviously, if you're married, name your spouse, and then we'll name your temporary guardian, permanent guardian, whoever it is that you want to name that should be notified in case you're ever in a car accident. Because the first thing the police officers will do is they'll go through your wallet, find the card, and know who to call for your children to make sure that the kids are well taken care of. We're also going to have an emergency treatment release form. That is very useful in case there is what it says, an emergency. So that is something you want to perhaps give your babysitter, or perhaps if you're sending the kids to grandma's for the weekend, and if the child falls, breaks his leg, and needs emergency care, you want to give them the ability to take the child to the ER and not be scrutinized by the doctors or not denied services because a parent is not there. And that is happening more often than not because guess what? Doctors and hospitals are being sued by parents because they provided services to their child without legal authority to do so. So those are sort of all of the documents. One more document, which I always debate, whether I bring it up, is for very sort of unique clients and it's unique circumstances. It's known as the guardianship exclusion form. So I will use myself as an example. No, I'm not going to use myself as an example because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But let's say you have two sisters. Sister A has a PhD in child psychology. She has two children the same age as your children. She's married. She has a beautiful house. She lives in a beautiful, suburban neighborhood. and that's Sister A. Then you have Sister B. Sister B, she's a little bit of a wild card. She parties a little bit, maybe more than she should. Maybe she has a part-time job somewhere. She has a child, but the child is already 18 years old, much older than your children. She's, maybe she's a waitress and she doesn't have stable income, or perhaps, she's a little unstable. She's not married, so she's, single still. So let's say you have no guardianship appointment, you have no will, you pass away. Who do you think a judge is going to vote on who should be the guardian of your children? In all likelihood, it'll be Sister A, right? The one with the PhD in child psychology. She's married, she has children, she lives in the white picket house fence. But what the judge doesn't know is that she's a secret closet alcoholic, or that she beats her children, or that her and her husband cheat on each other and are having affairs and they are miserable, and the children are miserable, and they're all in therapy because she's such a horrible mom. What they don't know about Sister B is that Sister B is an amazing mother who sacrificed her entire life to provide for that 18-year-old daughter that she has. So as you can see, so on paper, it's pretty obvious who should be appointed. But in reality, sort of the backdrop of it, that only you would be privy to this information, is that you would never in a million years want Sister A to be guardian of your children, and you would always want Sister B. So we do this confidential guardianship exclusion form, and basically what it is an explanation to the court as to why you're not appointing Sister A. Now, I keep this document confidential for my clients because if Sister A never makes a fuss about the appointment of Sister B, then there's no reason to hurt her feelings. But if she decides to battle Sister B for those children because she knows that you have a life insurance policy and maybe she has access to that money, for whatever reason it is, or maybe that's just the type of person she is and why you didn't want to appoint her as guardian, we would be able to show the court, like, no, this is why she appointed Sister B. We keep it confidential, again, because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but if the need comes up, we have this extra document. So if you have minor children, you've consulted with an estate planning attorney, and they haven't discussed any of these documents, maybe they're not the perfect fit for you. We'll be more than happy to assist you and provide you with a protection plan for your children that really fulfills and fills all those gaps and fulfills all those needs that we now have as modern moms.